Assalamu alaikum, everyone. I'm Aksa Tariq, the founder at GrowElle Labs. And today we welcome all of you as we celebrate Pakistan's first Ada Lovelace Day with our virtual conference called ElleConnect. What we wanted to do celebrating Ada Lovelace Day, whose contribution to the work of math has been, globally renowned. We wanted to feature Pakistani women who are working in these fields and connect not just the youngsters who are working or aspire to work in this field and explore STEM sciences, STEM fields, but also some people who've been in the industry, doing remarkable work. We have the honor of, showcasing work from a lot of people in Pakistan. And it gives us immense pride, to be in the company of a lot of these women that you will be seeing throughout today's session. We wanted to showcase, with Ada Lovelace, it's an international celebration of achievements of women who work in science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics. And, with this, we want to increase the profile of women in STEM, create new role models, and encourage, of course, more girls into STEM careers and support women already working in these fields. For today's inaugural session, I have my partner with me, Bemisal Iqbal, who will be, co-hosting the sessions today with me. But for the opening keynote, we have none other than Ms. Baela Jamil. She is the CEO of Idaara Taleem Agaahi, the Center for Education and Consciousness, and also the founder of Children's Literature and Teachers Literature Festival. Her work has been, across Pakistan, and we've seen that she's through her guidance, through her mentorship, through her advisory, we've seen education sector reforms, we've seen significant public-private partnerships, innovations, and financing in this industry. She has led, large-scale projects across the country, and we are excited, very, very excited to welcome her as our keynote today. Baela ma'am, before I leave it on to you, I just wanted to, of course, thank you for taking out time. We will be introducing, of course, the rest of our speakers as we go along in our 2-hour packed agenda today. But thank you very much for making the time, and we hope to have a great celebration of Ada Lovelace Day with all these females today. So, Ms. Baela, if we can have it from you.
Thank you so much. And to all of you trailblazers, I salute all of you, because at the end of the day, it's people like you, the young generation, that is really leading the pack and making us feel so proud of, because you are doing what you're doing and you know how to amplify. Where people like myself come from, really, we're coming from the trenches. We belong to that generation. Remember, I'm 66 years old. And I belong to that generation when in school we had to choose between science and arts. And I thought that was such a soul-destroying choice that we had to make. And sometimes we had, and even maths, by the way. So it was an epic tragedy. I come from that generation that had to make those hard and unfair, unnatural choices. So much of my action in this space is because I loved history and I loved science, but I had to choose one or the other. I came from a whole pack of people who believed in history, and my passion was history as well. And I loved my teacher too. I didn't think I loved my teacher in science that much, but I didn't like making that choice, and that too in Convent of Jesus and Mary, Lahore. So I think that's important to know, what is our provocation? Why do we think that we are who we are? And so began my journey of radical actions against an education system. And I must confess that I haven't won the day as yet. I don't think, I still feel at 4 years of age, when I rebelled against a book, Radiant Reader, it is still there. Can you imagine? And so the question is, this is a battle which is going to be won in a very tough way, and we must move on. People ask me, don't you get depressed? And I said, no, even for that one person who changes and gets transformed, that is so powerful. And hence, the story of girls in STEM. When we started the Children's Literature Festival in 2011, I remember soon after, it was Zubaida Mustafa, who happens to be my neighbor in Karachi and who will be joining me shortly. She said, you know, there is a girl in town. She started something which is amazing, really showing how science works to little children. And I said, who is she? And she said, it is Lala Rukh and of Science Fuse. And I said, where is she? She said, she happens to be in town. And I said, okay, let me go and see what she's doing. What magic is she performing in schools? So off we went to Huck Academy to see Lala Rukh in action. And I just loved what I saw. And immediately my style of work is just like that. And I said to her, Lala Rukh, will you join the festival? And she said, absolutely. This is how the chemistry works. And so Lala Rukh joined the festival. If this was ever a circus of meaning, well, it's now called the Pakistan Learning Festival, which embraces both the children's festival as well as the teachers and hopefully soon the youth. And Lala Rukh began this journey with us. And it has just gone from good to great. And it's so good to see Lala Rukh's own work expand so much. And we felt very good that, you know, here we were giving that attention to what needed, that here is a girl in STEM promoting sense, STEM believes in the best of the best. I did want to say that. So my disappointment of having to choose between arts and science, luckily I got some redemption when I went to a liberal arts college in US. And that too was through a hard-won scholarship because my father said, now no more, you've rebelled too many times, I'm not sending you outside. And I said, luckily got a full scholarship. And there we had to do something in science. And we had an option of doing consumer chemistry. And I think you're nothing better than that, especially for women in STEM. And I was just thinking, and I will go back and forth between my timelines. I was all of last week in the flood-affected areas in North Sindh. And I remember going to Shikarpur just on Tuesday and Wednesday, and I saw these women who are at the front line of the climate crisis, of the floods. And if anything goes wrong, what happens? इनके चूल्हों पर फर्क पड़ता है, इनकी पूरी food cycle पे, food chain पे फर्क पड़ता है. They are the ones who bring the bread home, who cook, who feed the children, who know what it is like when they're not washing their clothes, what happens to children, to disease, to skins, and so on. Everything is science related. And even when they're putting their homes back, whether they were the oplas or the mud and from the cow dung, or that's their fuel, or making their houses again and mixing the mud with straw and so on, everything is science for them. And yet they are so far away and far removed from that. So between consumer chemistry, what is an aspirin? You know, I remember so well starting that day and finally catching up with science in my undergrad years in a liberal arts program that made me feel so excited because Aksa, and everyone, you know, that's what brought me closer to life. All those questions, and I remember I was introduced to Wharton Crick's The DNA Story, you know, as a young girl. And I remember reading through that book. It was like almost fiction. It was it was like novel and so exciting. But, you know, kept saying to myself, why did we have to make these choices? Why does it come to women to having to make these choices? And yet there is a complete contradiction. When we see girls preparing for their matriculation, perhaps poorly so, all for the wrong reasons, everyone wants to go into science, everyone wants to become a doctor, and yet girls in Pakistan, they outscore boys when they have to come to medicine. So that's the journey. And now in 2022, we have a series of books that are coming out, which are promoting girls in STEM. Interestingly, since we did a whole program of second chance for girls education in South Punjab called Siani Saheliyan, or the Wise Friends, I just thought, why not come up with a title called Mahal Saheliyan? And Mahol Seheliyan is a trilogy led by 3 girl protagonists. They're all cousins. And they've got the most beautiful names of Rasti, Zaheen, and Justuju. And the idea is exactly that, what can we do with women in the lead? And then sure enough, Lala Rukh was working on something. And I was so humbled and so proud of the fact that we collaborated to bring out her first three publications as well in science. So I think we need to create those pathways, and the fact that one of the books on women in STEM, and I've seen more and more of that. Finally, girls who are doing and women doing amazing work in STEM is being not only recognized in Pakistan, but all over the world. But I keep coming back to Pakistan because in the backyard is where it needs to be recognized. They are recognized everywhere, whether it's a Tasneem Zehra or a Nargis or others, but we are not seeing them recognized right here where it matters and where we need role models right from early years. And also for women, programs which are dealing with women in livestock, women in climate change, climate justice, all of these things really matter most when it comes to women. They need to understand what is this magic of nature? What is it that transforms their daily lives into great acts and great feats of making sure that the children have enough to eat, or the right kind of nutrition, or the right kind of ways of growing vegetables, or even making their houses stronger, or creating fuel from cow dung. Yes, sab cheezein, they need to be, I think, put front and center in society as we all gear up to changing the meaning of life. And I keep saying also the meaning of songs, because very inadvertently, we as women are taught when we are in our babies, when we are babies, through loris and vidai geets and all of that horrible kind of socialization, which makes us feel as though we have to be suppressed, whereas if there is anything which is transformative in Pakistan, and I will be bold today, it's the women and girls in this country who plan and think and create, not for themselves alone, but for not just the family, but for generations. I'll stop at that. And if you have other questions, then I'll talk about the books.
Yeah. So I do have a question, and given the scope of your work, and I know a lot more than what you've just shared here today, so I will take the liberty of bringing that up. What are some, and the reason why I'm asking this is because we have some educators, we have people or young girls sitting here who are aspiring, STEM specialists. What would you say are some high quality strategies to cultivate systems that promote that lifelong learning? You talked about culture, you talked about being in communities that are otherwise marginalized or don't have that, are not part of that inclusive system. So what are some practices that have worked for you in terms of creating that high impact that you have through your work?
So, in the work that we've been, so first of all, 22 years in the making, trying, testing just about everything. One of the big pieces was whether you're doing school improvement or second chance program for girls and adolescent girls in particular, is that ability to confront and to be able to find a voice and to be confident and to be able to say, okay, I can say what I have gone through, I can talk about my experiences, and then go to the next learning level. And that has been my experiences with putting together a whole bunch of work around life skills. Now, life skills, if we do it very simply, zindagi guzarne ki mahartein is not good enough. That is what the foundational learning, with that strength and the confidence to be able to express from the emotional, even to the very individual to the spiritual, to the intellectual, that ability to go level by level, as I said, from the emotional is the first piece, because you've got to get off your chest all the things that are burdening you. And that ability to speak about it straight as it was, without any edits is a very important piece of liberation. So life skills for girls means, and adolescent girls especially, means a kind of a liberation from that oppression that you've been, if you're amongst people who give you support, is that ability to express wrong or right, what you have suffered. And that suffering is such a burden that you need to dismantle that. And I've seen that, and that ability of the teachers, facilitators to act as friends and peers rather than the usual classical teachers, that kind of a co-creation with a facilitator friend, and that ability to speak and get that off your chest is your first piece of liberating yourself. And then going on to say, okay, this is what I want to learn, this is what I want to become. And I've seen within 6 months to 18 months of girls who had dropped out in grade 5 or 8 or even 9 or 10, you'll be shocked, were able to accelerate their learning and remember everything that was, even though they'd left their work, their studies 3 years, 4 years ago, or 2 years ago, or even 6 months ago, were able to catch up very fast. And so we had friends in Cambridge and also people from JPAL who did third-party evaluation, said, what is it? Why are these girls learning so fast? And that too from South Punjab. And they said it is the combination, or I don't like that word, non-cognitive skills, it's life skills for lifelong learning. It's that those set of life skills which really became the trigger for the cognitive inquiry skills in girls, freed up the space. Now, my friend Sharmeen Obaid Chinoy, I love alliances. I love, therefore, working with each one of you, because Pakistan will never move forward unless until we all come together. And Sharmeen said, I'd love to do my mobile cinema. I said, no, Sharmeen, that's not enough. Let's teach them how to take their own videos and films. They become filmmakers of their own reality and find that voice, but also that courage to show this to anyone. But then Sharmeen also collaborated with all of us at ITA in the Siani Saheli program to make 9 life skills videos, the videos in animation in 5 languages of Sindhi, Urdu, Punjabi, Pashto, Baluchi. And the idea was from something as simple as girls in education to girls in financial inclusion to girls and domestic violence to all of that, coming together in a way that, including menstrual hygiene and so on and so forth, it made all of these issues, which are hitherto completely had a veil of silence, to come out of that, that shattered that entire myths that, you cannot speak about these subjects, domestic violence or even, menstrual hygiene, etc. Today, we are speaking openly about it. Today, we are able to celebrate and talk about the breast cancer and the pink. This is the whole month being celebrated. And look at the wonderful way that on the telephone, your message is coming through, or ke chhati ka cancer ho raha hai. Before that, you couldn't speak about it. So I think these kind of work, and then, as I said, this alliance building, large scale work, whether we do it through 10,000 volunteers in the entire country, the ASA survey, the 80 festivals we have done, the second chance programs, etc. It's not a story about ourselves. Really, it is about working with so many partners that make a difference. And so I think when we talk about foundational and life skills, that's what is lifelong learning. That's what encourages you and frees you up to be an inquirer, to be creative, to speak your mind, to say, ma'am, I've discovered how to do my catering this way rather than that way. I can actually now go into my enterprise this way rather than that way. And I think, or I want to be a science teacher or to be recognized as a science leader in a remote area or a place where we were working with rag pickers. The best of the science teachers came from there. There was a whole lot of science just there in the whole recycling business of the rag pickers and the worst forms of child labor, which we have just ended for 570 kids, because of those excellent teachers working exactly in those areas, being able to pick concrete examples and say, why this is bad. So I think that's what I saw in Skardu or in Gilgit. For them, science is an everyday happening. Everyday happening for the children, and they know that their food is going short. They know they cannot preserve the food anymore. They know what's happening, to the villages. So, this is, not just breaking glass ceilings. It's being able to become one with nature. Just like Aisha Dalal will say as a historian that, history is about, is a way of life. Science is very much a way of life. How do you make it as mainstream as the 24 hours that you breathe? So I think that's the, and then it also has a whole culture. It also has a whole sense of laughter. It has a sense of inquiry, of, lots of inquisitiveness and imagination and that wow feeling, So ye jo hai na, making learning come alive and be fun without any gender divides, nonsensical gender divides. I mean, if you ever want to say, okay, how do you define gender? And you say, this is what, you are the custom, it's the customary practices which create those structural divides, etc. It's time to just say goodbye to those customary practices. Unthinkable, rubbish. So the whole curtain of silence has to be just, blown to smithereens. And that's what science is all about, and has a sense of, being upfront and logical, much more so than history, for example, or other things. Here, it's very straightforward. It's a cause and effect. And you see that, and you see the wonder of it and the magic of it right in front of your eyes, irrespective of whether you're a girl or a boy.
Yes. My question to you, and this is the last one that I will at least ask from my end. Bolstering the STEAM educator workforce is also critical. You talked about the Teacher Learning Festival. You talked about the Children's Literature Festival, Learning Festival also. This is something that educators also need, that support system, right? You talked about those partnerships and innovations that have come together. Innovators who have come together to really build that ecosystem where they, of course, also experience, the joy of their profession, feel that sense of belonging and responsibility. What are some things, as some educators who are sitting here, what are some things that you can give to them based on, of course, your own experience and learning from these?
So I think, first of all, popularizing the option of being a science educator, I think is very important. And I think books like Lala has just come out with, or this the Mohol Saheliya trilogy, others that are coming, make learning come alive. It's like science is woven into it, but the teacher needs to become more skilled at using the time, needs to have very simple ways of doing experiments, in class, saying nahi, that usual way of, the 35 minutes are too little, or I cannot manage, etc. How do you manage your time? How do you manage your topics? How do you integrate science, everyday science, and your everyday subjects? How do you see the connections of cross-disciplinary work? Now, these are all skills that people like yourselves who are educators and preparing others to come into the field without that fear, मैं science kaise padhaungi kind of thing, is something that needs to be done on a much bigger basis. We have succeeded at the policy level, or even in the programs where now you have science melas and all of that coming into the mainstream programs. But I think similarly, and you brought a very important topic, Aksa, that we are not seeing enough in the teacher educator programs, both pre-service and in-service or induction, where you see science teachers being taught. Now, what Lala Rook, for example, is doing, or some of us are doing, is trying to prepare science communicators. But I think much more mainstream, saying, we are going to give you a 30-hour class, or starting from a 16-hour or a 15-hour, and say in 2 lots to give you a small diploma in how to become a better science communicator or a better science teacher. Many of the teachers, by the way, who've got science as their basic degrees will come out in the open, and with that, also giving them some books or some content that they can work with would be a great start for them. And I think we need to work on that. And maybe this entire brigade that you've got, you need to push. And the Sindh Education Literacy Department, we have many complaints about how teachers are working, etc. I complain a lot, but they are one of the most progressive one when it comes to ideas. So if a group says, we're happy to work with a program for the next year, preparing 1,000 teachers in science teaching, or even to the Sindh Education Foundation, or even others who are open and receptive to it, I think that would be absolutely marvelous. And you have got something really great going for all of you. And that is that in the COVID period, one of the biggest plus points, or one of the winners, was that we have now more than 400,000 teachers in Pakistan, just in the public sector, forget the private sector, maybe as many in the private sector or more, who went through a Microsoft licensing program, and they are now able to do hybrid training. Can you imagine you people working like a brigade for doing hybrid training in science teaching and all of that, with a bit of on-site support, because teachers always need not just professional development in the cold, they also need some support mechanism, so that if they're doing something wrong, there's some mentor or some peer to work with. I think those the time is right. The government is very open. They want to have these partnerships. I would urge very much that as we're coming with better and better material in science, in STEM, in climate change, and please don't forget, because climate change is all about science. And of course, as I said, how it impacts women and girls every single day. It's here, it's become our personal problem. So I think those are very big ways of moving forward in this area. You will be amazed that the National Curriculum Council in record time gave us the go-ahead and the clearance for this, and said this is the best material that we've seen. And they've now got Lala's books as well to see they're the best materials. So I think the content is getting better. I think we have got teachers who are much more up to hybrid sessions. We've got government which is desperate to show some progress. What's her name? Shadi Rahman has just launched a very big piece on Indus. I think people are ready. You just need to strike it now and not wait. Don't worry, the resources will come. You have to say what you have to offer, be very direct, try, test it out, start with something, say about 15 hours, and say we'll do 15 hours first, 15 later. Give them a diploma or a science which has got their thappa also, so they're part of the appraisal systems. And off you go. We'll begin to see real science happening as an act of belief, and also as an act of life, really, inside the classes of Pakistan. And my God, that would be a revolution as I see it. Our books, of course, can be available at ITA Publications, and you can share with everyone.
I'd like to put up the posters for everyone to just take a quick look at.
So I don't know if I have the sharing option.
Let me just figure it out. Otherwise, I can. Just give me a moment.
If you give me the sharing option.
Yeah, I can do that. Go ahead. You should be able to share it.
It still says disabled. I don't think I have the sharing option, but I can send you on the chat. I can send you the link. Is that all right? Because I can't see the sharing. Oh, there it is. Here we go. So if I show you quickly, so these are the Mahal Saheliyan, and the Mahal Saheliyan is lovely because it comes with these three girls, I said, and Rasti, all of that means, and their cousins. And this is an intergenerational story of activists for climate justice. And there are these three books, and they can be found on this. Then we have, sorry, Then we have the wonderful books by Science Fuse, which have just come out. So both of them have come out within 3 months of each other. The Gulrukh Science Adventures, and that's Kitchen Key Science, which is wonderful. How do you make ice cream, to many things, to the incredible questions of science and the remarkable women in STEM. And they are just fabulous, absolutely. They're all in English for the time being. Urdu ones will be coming out. The Mahol Sehliyan is currently in Urdu, and the English will be coming out. But these are all available, and people can get them. And these are things that you can do and have them around. And they come with activities, they come with glossary, they come with everything that you want, and you can make your own activities as well. But Lala Rukh is there, and we are there, and anything at all. I think we are a fabulous group of people. It's a kabila. We say it's a tribe. When you enter our tribe, nobody can leave it. And believe you, we have never fought with each other for 12 years, 11 years. We are just sitting and working away. And we're about almost 200 people now in this brigade for the Pakistan Learning Festival. And generally speaking, I've never seen us fight. So there must be something right,
Right. Yeah.
Nature ordains this. But thank you so much for giving me this privilege to speak. As I said, I'm more of I'm a historian turned passionate about science and feeling bad that I could never do science as a child. I had to make these artificial choices. But
at least you're making it
off to
possible for
all
so
of you.
many. Yeah, you're making it possible for so many children across Pakistan. So I think it must be fulfilling, at the end of the day when you think about it.
Very fulfilling, very fulfilling. But I really salute all of you once again for doing what you are doing. And I'm sure you'll be the real change makers of this country, and to see the revolution that we've been dreaming of. हम कहते हैं ना, वो सुबह कभी तो आएगी, इंशाल्लाह आएगी, और आप लोगों से आएगी. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, ma'am. It was an honor to have you.